And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Skull Canyon Ski Fest. Now you would think that with skiing being a fairly popular sport, there would be more games about skiing, but there honestly isn't that many. There's not a lot of games about sports like skiing and surfing and such, and I think there could be. In this one here, you are going to be going up a mountain, skiing down it, collecting sets of cards and playing them. So let's check out how this game plays. We played this live before in the Dice Tower too. You can go watch a full playthrough of it, but let me show you quickly how it works. In this game, each player is going to play one of the different color racers who's in the game. So you can be Sosh here, and you get this. You get a bunch of tokens that match your player color. You have a skier who's going to start here, and then you set the mountain up. So there are various different types of slopes on this mountain. We have the nice easy ones, those are the green, with the more difficult blue ones, and then the black ones are the death-defying, the hardest ones. These red lines are the ski lifts to get up the mountain. And some of the routes here have different tokens on them where, you know, when you ski down there, you use cards of that type, you can get some bonuses. So this is all set up at the beginning of the game. The game is going to take place over 3 days. Each day will have different weather, which may affect how many cards you have. And then each day is made up of several actions here that players, each time you move this down, players are going to get 2 different actions that they can take on their turn. So let's talk about that. One of the actions that you can do on your turn is to train. When you train, you're going to choose slope cards. So you can see there's slope cards here. There are actually slope cards in 3 different colors, red, yellow, and blue, and each of the colors has different types. We have slope styles, moguls, slalom, ski cross, and whatever you pronounce that one. So you can take a face-up card, or you can take one from the top of the deck, and if you take a face-up card, you'll replace it. There are also Yeti cards. Yeti cards are wild cards. However, if you take a Yeti card that's face-up, that's the only card that you get. At the beginning of each day, players are at the bottom of the mountain, but you're going to be able to, as one of your actions, you can pick one of these ski lifts and go up it. In fact, if you manage to get some of these lift tickets, you can do that for free. It doesn't even cost you an action. So you can go up and move across the ski lifts around the mountain. But at some point, you're going to want to use an action to ski down one of these runs. And once you ski down a run, you might be able to ski down a run following that. To do that, you're going to be playing sets of cards. So there's a little chart here. So here, for example, to go down the simple run costs 2 cards. The medium run 4 cards, and the hard run 7 cards. And those cards need to be either all the same color or all the same style. And in fact, if they're all the same style and that style matches this token that's next to the route, you will get extra fame. Double fame, actually. So when you do that, you're going to get victory points. Victory points are tracked on the outside of the board, and you get fame. Fame is a bit of a currency that you can use and can even be converted into victory points. As you play these sets of cards to move down runs, you can play Yeti cards as wilds. If you play one Yeti card, you're going to take the Yeti token and put him on a route. Nobody can go down that route. The Yeti's blocking their way. If you play exactly 2 Yeti cards, then there is an avalanche, and every skier, no matter where they are, is forced to ski down one slope to come down the mountain. They can even go through the Yeti when that happens. Now, when you do this, when you ski down slopes, you are scoring points and getting fame, but you also want to claim the routes. So you use your tokens for that. If I'm the first person to go down Cannonball, I'm going to put one of my tokens there. Someone else can take that from me later on, but they're going to have to play more cards than me. So it normally takes 4 cards to go down a blue route, so they could play 5. In fact, I could even play more than that if I need to initially, but usually you just want to play the number or more than that, so I would just put my token on top. And now there's 2 tokens there, so you know the next player to do it would have to play 6 cards to go down that route. That's important because at the end of the game, whoever has the most experts gets 4 points, the most advanced 6, the most beginner 8, and whoever has the most runs overall that they control will get a bonus of 4 points. Now, as the day goes by, at the very end, you're going to get extra fame if you manage to make it to the bottom of the mountain on the final turn. But then players are going to land here in the lodge. And now you're going to play a kind of a different game, as players will take turns. You're going to have your skiers in different sections, and you can move as far as you want if a space is open. And in different sections. So for example, in the hot tub, you pay a card to get 3 fame. Yodeling, you pay a fame, and then you can swap some of these tokens that are on the board. And get one of these tokens, which lets you trigger an avalanche in the future. Happy hour, you pay a card and 2 fame to draw 3 more cards. The ski swap here, you get one of those lift tokens for 1 fame, and let it ride, you name a color, reveal 3 cards and add them to your hand, and if none match the deck, you also, none match the color, you say you get 2 more cards. And then finally, when you go to the hotel, you're going to draw cards depending on the weather for the next day, and you have a chance to buy equipment. So there's some gear cards next to the board, and these gear cards are going to give you a special ability. They each have a cost in fame, giving you victory points at the end. So for example, this gives you an extra fame every time you ski a run. When you steal a run from somebody else, you can pay a fame to pay 1 less card. Heated gloves, if in order to steal a run from you, other players have to play an extra card. So things like that. And then you'll start all over again. Now sometimes, depending on the weather, you might get to start from a different lodge on the board. So if the weather's snowy, you can already start up here. And also the number of cards that you draw at the beginning of a round. But after 3 rounds, if there's a 3rd round, you don't even run through here. You're just going to add up all your points. Every fame, or every 3 fame that you have, is going to give you a victory point, and you'll have some victory point on your gear cards, and like I said, for controlling runs, whoever has the most runs of the different types, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Alright, so the components for this game, on one hand, I like the mountain. The mountain looks good. I like the ski lifts, and the mountain actually has 2 sides to it for fewer players. There's fewer runs on the other side. I do not like these tokens because other than the one with trees, they're really hard to tell apart. I really found a difficult time reading those. I would have preferred maybe some color or something. The cards themselves are decent quality. You know, they're just a bunch of cards that are red, yellow, green, and blue. The artwork, this is going to be kind of a hit and miss thing for people. I find this artwork to be okay. There's tons of tokens in the game, and I do like that they make the tokens for the different players. Not only are they different colors, but they're also different shapes, so that's easy to tell apart. But overall, the components are fine. Now, once you see the overview of this game, it's an unusual hybrid of a game because it has 2 halves to it, and I think the mixture of those 2 halves and little things throughout it keep me from getting too excited about the game. There's a lot that I like. I like the moving around the mountain. I like playing cards to come down and sets of cards and playing a set of color versus playing a set of styles. Since there's 5 styles and 3 colors, always easier to play color. But if you play the exact style of the token next to you, you get double fame, so that's cool. Having fame as a separate resource that you use to get more cards and to purchase equipment versus just straight victory points, I like that. Controlling different routes and having the most routes, that works well too. Deciding what route to move up the mountain, to move down the mountain, I like all of that. But there's a few things I'm not as big of a fan of. First of all, we have the Yeti. The Yeti adds a bit of a take that element to the game, which is just not fun. To put a Yeti in front of someone and to block them, first of all, you already get it's a wild card. That's pretty amazing. To then hurt another player on top of that, and then playing one Yeti is not too big of a deal, but the 2 Yetis, which forces people to come down a mountain, you're essentially losing actions for the players. And that just doesn't really jive with the rest of the game. And those avalanche tokens you can buy, which do the same thing, that feels even worse to see those go off. And I think the game would have been more fun without the Yeti cards. Then at the bottom, when you get down the mountain and you move across and go through that, that's a mechanism I like. I call it the ratchet mechanism, where you can go as far forward as you want, but you can never go back. I enjoy that, but in this one, it just kind of feels okay. Part of it is, ooh, get to the end to get some gear. The gear is mostly, again, it's just kind of okay stuff. Not to mention, when you buy a piece of gear, you get to use it at most for 2 turns. And the second time you go through, you're like, oh, 1 turn, and it's a few victory points. And then the various things at the bottom are just getting some cards and stuff. Again, it's kind of there, but it feels like this weird little sub-game you're playing that doesn't mesh with that other game of moving around the mountain. Honestly, the game feels like there's too few turns. I would have rather them kick that second, that sauna hot tub, bottom part of the game, kick that out completely, give me more actions, and let us move around this mountain, go add some more trails and stuff. That part's interesting. That part's, there's going to be a lot of people comparing this to Ticket to Ride because you're drawing cards. It uses that same mechanism as Ticket to Ride does. You're drawing cards, getting a hand of cards, playing cards rummy style to move down routes, playing more cards than the last person to steal, and that part works. And so I feel like the bottom part was like, well, we don't want people to call this Ticket to Ride, so let's add this extra section. But that extra section feels a bit unwieldy. It's not bad. I like the game. I'll play the game. I didn't dislike it. But there was too many of these little things throughout it to keep me from getting really excited about it. It's an interesting theme. I like the idea of the maps and the different trails. And do you want to go for a bunch of short routes or for a few longer routes? But when it all comes together, it just felt like there was a little bit lacking to keep me from wanting to play it too often. So that's Skull Canyon Ski Fest. I'm Tom Vasel. You've been watching the Dice Tower. Dice Tower Judgment, interesting, but a little lacking.